Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm doing my last update for the Read What You Own challenge. Not because I finished it, but because I failed it. Oops. I was doing great, and then I took my 2 giant boxes of books to unhaul them and came home from the used bookstore with 10 new books. So that's it for me. I don't feel like starting over. Um, but let me tell you a little bit about my experience. I feel like every once in a while I like doing this kind of thing, not buying as many books as usual, not buying any books except for set rules, exceptions, and it just is like a really good restart for my thoughts on buying books. It is possible for me not to buy books. I went 4 months without buying any books other than my subscriptions, which is great. And there were a few temptations, but it wasn't that hard to overcome till this last one. Yeah, I just avoided going into bookstores because I know if I go in a bookstore, I have a lot of trouble not buying books, especially when it's Second and Charles, where it takes an hour or two for them to process the used books and your credit, and you're looking around and things happen. But I have 6 books to talk about that were the last books before for the end of my challenge, and 3 of them have full reviews and 2 are on a recent wrap-up, and I don't have a lot to say about them because I read them a long time ago. So only one I think I have not talked about in any videos. So this is hopefully going to be short and sweet. And these are books 31 through 36. Number 31 was A Tyranny of Faith by Richard Swan. It's the second book in a series. The first book was The Justice of Kings. I am really loving this series. I think it's a trilogy, and I can't wait for that third book. This is kind of a mystery epic fantasy series with a broad world that the characters explore, and the main character, well, the narrator is a apprentice justice learning under like a really renowned justice. And the first book was mostly them trying to figure out a mystery. It was kind of a mystery fantasy, and this time things got much broader. There was more things going on. There was like a lot of political intrigue and unrest going on, and it was really, I thought, a step up from the first book, and I loved the first book, but this one was a definite 5-star read and one of the favorites for the month. So that is Tyranny of Faith by Richard Swan. Totally check it out. And another really good one is White Horse by Erica T. Wurth, book 32. I really like this horror story as well. This is following an Indigenous woman who receives a bracelet that belonged to her mother, and it sets her on a journey of discovery, because this bracelet is haunted. There's something going on with this bracelet, and she pretty much has no choice but to figure out where the path this bracelet is leading her, and it was great. Carrie is a character that I really liked. She doesn't know much about her mother because she died when she was very young, and her father got in an accident and permanently disabled, and Carrie has to take care of him, but she really loves him, and she's not a perfect character. She has flaws, and she is afraid of relationships. She's at the bar all the time and partying, and her only friend is her cousin, who is very different from her, married, with responsibilities, so on and so forth. So it was a very interesting character study on top of the really intriguing, haunting bracelet thing, and I just thought it was all wonderful. Next, I finish The Wicked Wrecks of the West by Wurth, Nerdlo, and Daron Kappauff for the week of Weird, and it has a lot of The Wizard of Oz in it, with its own take on it, and there's dinosaurs. And apparently this story came to be because of authors talking on Twitter. They were talking about blurbs, and someone said blurbs like The Wizard of Oz meets Jurassic Park. And then a bunch of authors started coming up with ideas for this story. What would that story look like? Wizard of Oz meets Jurassic Park, and I think they did a fantastic job with that. It's what this is. It was funny, action-packed, and fast-paced, and just a lot of fun to read. The other thing I finished for the week of Weird is The Metamorphosis and other stories by Franz Kafka. Been wanting to read these stories for so long, and they were really good. There were some that I didn't like as much, a few, but for the most part, they were really good. About 4 of them that really hit hard and really got me. The Metamorphosis is my favorite story in this collection, about a man's transformation from man. Well, it's not about the transformation, but it's about a man who turns into a cockroach and what his family does for him. He was the person who worked and brought home all the money for his sister and his parents, kind of taking care of them, and then what they do once he can no longer work because he is a cockroach. Really interesting. Dark stories. And then the next 2 I have full reviews for as well. The first one is A House with Good Bones by Kingfisher, book 35. This is a horror novel that is a little hard to explain, but it's about a woman who goes to have a long visit with her mother, and her mother is acting very, very strange. not herself. She seems scared and skittish, looking over her shoulder, that sort of thing. And things around the house don't seem right either. Everything's been reorganized, repainted, but the most ominous of all is probably all the vultures. There's vultures always by the house, on the mailbox, everywhere around the house. So there is something very strange going on, and our main character has to find out if something is just wrong with her mom or if there's something more. It's a horror novel, so I'm guessing. So you can guess that it's probably more. But our main character is a scientist, and that's not where she goes to first. It's really interesting. It goes on the weird side, which I don't mind. I like that. And then the last book is Black Crane's Tales of Unquiet Women, which is an anthology of short stories, all by Southeast Asian authors. And I really, really liked it. There were some great authors in there with wonderful stories. A lot of the stories had science fiction elements, which is something I enjoy very much. Science fiction horror is wonderful. So yeah, it was a great anthology. I really, really liked it, and I recommend it. These were my last books of the challenge, books 31 through 36. And from now on, I'm going to be doing recent reads because I like this format where I only talk about 5 books at a time. It is a lot easier for me than trying to remember all of the books from the month. Usually, as long as I get to filming on time, which I struggle with this time around, but it'll be easier to remember if the books are all recent. So every 5 books I'll come on with a recent reads. I may just do books that I'm not going to have a full review of. I'm not going to have in a readathon wrap up, that sort of thing. Just put together the ones that I haven't talked about and talk about those. So let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, and I will be back very soon with another book-related video. Thanks. Bye.